All right, let's say you do speak to your wife, right? She doesn't like it. She makes threats. I'm ready to take the kids, break up the family. I can't believe you would do this to me. All this types of stuff that is pretty common, unfortunately. Are you going to say, okay? Are you going back on down now and say, okay, I can live without it? Assalamu alaikum, peace. I'm Coach Nazir, one of the founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships, as well as one of the authors of Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored. With that being said, I want to congratulate you because you chose to be proactive and find out exactly what it takes to speak to your wife regarding polygamy. All right, now specifically, I mean polygyny, which means a man who has multiple wives. Now, there's a checklist I'm going to go through, right? There are a number of different points, and each one of them can really be expounded upon a lot longer. But for brevity of this video, I just want to make sure I'm hitting these points at least to give you a cursory understanding so that should you decide to practice polygyny, that you do it in a healthy manner from the jump. Okay, right from the beginning, where you're able to go ahead and make things happen, or at least work to make things happen in a beneficial way versus having hindsight. Again, we say hindsight is 20/20. This video is going to provide you with foresight in the checklist I'm going to go through. Now, even though I listed them by number just because we like numbering things, they're not necessarily in any specific type of order. I think all of these elements are very important, especially when it comes to approaching the topic of polygyny. Now, number one, all right, before you even speak with your significant other regarding polygyny, one is to evaluate yourself. All right, you really evaluate and rate yourself and your past achievements as a husband. All right, what I kind of equate that to is just you asking yourself, look, am I a good dude? You know what I'm saying? Am I somebody that is fulfilling the roles that I have as a husband? Am I doing that? Am I providing? Am I protecting? Am I doing a number of different things to make sure I'm building versus destroying? Am I being proactive and intentional versus, being careless? Okay, that's number one. You really have to grade yourself because again, polygyny is not for everybody. All right, not just because mathematically it's impossible, but it isn't, period. It's for those who are a step above, those who choose to be more than twice the man, as my wife said. So that's the first thing you do. Evaluate yourself, give yourself a report card on whether or not, all right, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing as a husband. Now, I'm assuming you are, even though I may not know your specific situation. I'm assuming you are because you want to find out more about this and you're being proactive. So that shows that you have some strategy within yourself. So number two, you have to weigh the ramifications. Okay, either you're going to practice polygyny or you're going to choose not to practice polygyny. And for whatever reasons or desires you chose, that's really up to you. And what I mean by the resentment part is, listen, all right, let's say you do speak to your wife, right? She doesn't like it. She makes threats. I'm ready to take the kids, break up the family. I can't believe you would do this to me. All this types of stuff that is pretty common, unfortunately. Are you going to say, okay? Are you going back on down now and say, okay, I can live without it? Will that cause resentment within yourself that somebody else made a decision for you as the man, as the leader of the household? Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but you do have to ask yourself that question. Are you willing to just go ahead and say, you know what, all right, I'll throw in the towel because, she acted up or she feels a certain way and, she can control and manipulate me and so on. You might feel that and it may turn into that resentment. Or again, the other part of the risk is maybe she will do that. But going back to the first question is, are you a good dude? All right, do you deserve that? Is that something are you something that she can just go without? Is it easy to replace you, even if it's only in her mind? You would know whether or not you're a top tier guy to begin with. All right, because you've already demonstrated it. Being a good husband is demonstrable. You already have a track record. Okay? Yeah, very important. Now, number three, have you ever talked about polygyny before? All right, have you ever spoke about it? Have you ever had a conversation about it? You ever watched a movie and it came up? Ever came across any of our videos and you want to talk about it there? Has she seen anything? Have you had that conversation? The reason I ask you that is because you know what? Maybe you did talk about it. Maybe you had a different place in your life at the time. Maybe you weren't financially secure, or maybe you didn't know what the future looked like. And now you've evolved, you've changed, and now you decided, polygyny may be for me at this time in my life. But before, maybe you said no. All right, that's important too, because if you did say no before, you're not interested before or whatnot, that may have been the truth at that moment or that time. However, we do have the ability to change our minds and evolve, but we don't and should not compromise our character where you knew that, yes, you want to practice polygyny, but you're going to say no for these purposes. That's deception. That's deceit. That's weakness. All right. That's cowardice. But have you spoke about it before? And if you have spoke about it before, was it a hot topic? Was it a hot discussion? A little heated, a little challenging, a little threatening? Were there some emotions, rounding up in there? Or was it just a, laid back conversation, or just trying to figure out, what was it? All right. Again, this is just all before you even go into the discussion. Now, the next question, and only right? This is the fourth question. The fourth question I say is, have you ever breached her trust and another woman was involved? See, this is challenging because if you have done something like that, then that can stir up all kinds of negative emotions based upon your previous behavior. Hence, I talk about having strong morals and a strong character. But if you've done that before, you're going to be in for expecting some of the biggest challenges and debates and discussions when it comes time to have this conversation with her. Preferably you haven't, but if you have, you need to know that you got some stuff to deal with, especially if you haven't already worked through that or dealt with that or whatnot. Okay? So number 5 says, does she have a growth or a limited mindset? Does she have a growth or limited mindset? It's not just relegated to her. It could be you too. All right. But traditionally, when work with men, I find that, of course, they have not only a growth mindset for expanding the family, but also about their responsibilities. So the question is, does she have a growth or limited mindset? Is she always placing blame? Nothing is her fault. Finds it impossible to apologize on something? Or does she have a growth mindset? Understand that things do change and having accountability about her actions and different things she does, and, takes account and responsibility for when she may act up or misbehave on some things or say something that's out of order or whatnot. All right, this is also very important because it's a different type of conversation you're going to have with somebody who's mature versus someone who is immature. Now, number 6 says, what's your communication style and what's hers? What's your communication style? Now, me personally, for example, I'm an introvert. I can go, without saying much for the day, if you will. But my wives, they speak a lot more than I do. And it's funny because they say women speak at least 4 times as much as men on a daily basis. How they gauge this, I really don't know. But I read one study where they said that men use about 5,000 to 6,000 words a day, where a woman may be 18,000 to 25,000 a day, and sometimes more. Okay. Now, that's just a generalization. And like I said, I don't know where the science comes from or how they can even measure it. But sometimes they speak a lot more than we do. With that being said, what's your communication style? Is it to go ahead and sit down at the kitchen table or on a dining room table, or maybe at the bedroom, have a conversation, and it's 50-50? You're speaking 50% of the time, you listen to 50% of the time? Is it she speaks 80% of the time, you speak 20%? Is it a 90-10? Is it better for you to write it down maybe? Whether that's, let's say, an email or in a notebook or a journal or something like that, and then try to keep your space or your distance so that you can kind of go over that while you're speaking with her? What's your communication style and what's hers? Is she somebody that likes to just talk a lot of things out? Is she someone who wants to kind of think about it? All right. So what are your communication styles? You should already know this. All right. And with different people, there are different types of styles. So what is the communication style with you in particular? Now let's go to number 7. Number 7, I asked you to ask yourself, does she have any traumas that can be triggered? Does she have any traumas that can be triggered? This is very, very important. Sadly, many of us don't get treated for the traumas, whether it be therapy or personal development, anything regarding self-growth over traumatic issues. Okay, so we have to be very, very careful that we know the person that we marry to, that we want to have the conversation with when it comes to polygyny. All right, there may be abandonment issues, there may be betrayal issues, there may have been other physically traumatic events, all right, whether that be sexually, whether that be physically, verbally, or what have you. So there are many different types of things. Now, that doesn't mean, somebody has a trauma, you don't speak with them. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm asking you as a man, and as you're strategizing to have a conversation, to consider all of these elements. Because if there are some triggers or some unresolved traumas, and there's something called ACEs, and I'm not going to go deep into this, but ACEs are adverse childhood experiences that we all have. Okay, that we all have, some worse than others. All right, but if there are unresolved traumas, they can raise their ugly heads when we want to have a discussion about something like polygyny. All right, it may bring back feelings or of loss, despair, all kinds of negative things that may come out, and a person will act out and not even really know that they are triggering or is attaching something else in the past. But you need to ask yourself that. How well do you know your wife and any type of past traumas, if she's even shared them? Unfortunately, sometimes wives do not share this information. Family does not share this information before people get married. They don't know about it. A lot of husbands don't know about it until after they start talking about polygyny. They may have been married 10, 15, 20 years and not known some things that have happened long ago that the polygamy discussion has triggered. Okay. Now, number 8, I'm going to ask you about what is her MBTI, Myers-Briggs Typology Indicator, and what is yours? You know, what is your MBTI? That's basically a quiz at humanmetrics.com. You can take it, kind of find out. It's an abbreviated quiz you can take there, but you can find out what personality type you are. And I like the MBTI, the Myers-Briggs Typology Indicator, because I've seen it, man, it's about 85 to 90% accurate. Okay, it's not foolproof, but it's 85, 90% accurate. But what are your types? Have you taken it? If you have taken it, you remember it. All right, there's 4 letters that come along with it. What is hers? Find out more about it. You can both take the quiz and everything else and find out your personality types and learn more about it, because it is absolutely on point when it comes to communication, your styles and everything else. All right, find those things out. Now, here's the thing. All right, honesty and compassion. Nah, we live in a Western society that's dog eat dog. All right, you do you, I'm gonna do me. It is what it is. All right, you can get what you get. So with that being said, I'm just gonna share just some basic principles that are important to understand. One, as a man, you are the leader, or you should be the leader. Now, I don't like the word should, because people should all over themselves at all kinds of things. But as a man, you should be leading your family, right? Women in general, they have an inherent nature to be gentle, and they really should be dealt with that way. That means that we have to demonstrate some empathy and provide some reassurance when we're having this conversation. All right, not allow our emotions to be on our sleeves or think that she needs to think like us or react like us in a certain way. All right, it can be challenging, especially if there's love and she loves you, which she should, she's married to you. All right, so it's not an easy discussion to have. That's why you're trying to figure out how to have it to begin with, because you also love her and you care for her feelings. I know this. So it's best practice to learn these things when you are approaching the conversation versus doing it afterward. All right, they will value your honesty because it shows some courageousness, first of all, and a concern for their feelings and emotions. But feelings and emotions, again, they're supposed to be felt. That doesn't dictate your decisions. But they do want to be heard, which is very important. It doesn't mean you have to bow down, it just means they want to be heard. Okay? And doing it in a wise way by demonstrating having some empathy and compassion. Now, they might need time to process the conversation. I know I shouldn't have to say this, but I will say this. When you're having a conversation, you should probably not have the conversation when she's on her cycle. On her monthly cycle, yeah, stay away from conversation like this during that time. Okay, we don't know what that's like. We'll never understand it. Whether it's giving birth or the menstrual cycle, we will never know what that is. The hormonal ups and downs that come along with that. Women to tell you, I was on my cycle during that time, or I was PMSing at this time, and so on. And it does affect their behavior and their ability to really get things. So avoid those times. I'm telling you that without a doubt. Avoid the time when she's on her period or close to it to have this discussion. I know I shouldn't have to say that, but she may need time to process it when she's not on her cycle and you have the conversation. She may emotionally react at the time you have the conversation. However, Give it a day, two, whatever, some hours to be able to process it. All right. Timing absolutely does matter. But you, again, as the man, as the leader, you have to demonstrate self-control. Self-control, the ability to control your emotions. Emotions should be felt. They shouldn't dictate how you behave and how you move. You have this ability here. We don't have the hormonal ups and downs. All right. And we know that when men are weak and not controlling their emotions, and they demonstrate that, that's problematic. That can get people killed. Imagine being on a battlefield, you meet your enemy and somebody calls a name and now somebody gets out of line because they need to lash back. But you're not following protocol. That's allowing somebody else to push your buttons. And the person that allows someone else to push their buttons is known as someone who's weak. So you as a man still have to be stoic. That doesn't mean you have to be a punk about it. You can still listen. You can get things you can process, and you can be stone faces if you want to be. I wouldn't advise that, but you can. But the main thing is to make sure you control yourself. So one of the easy things I found, especially with a lot of clients, is that they say, I asked my wife to just watch this video with me. They went to our YouTube channel, they watched the video on polygyny, they watched the video with me and my wives, whether it's Coach Fatimah or Coach Nyla. All right. And we were talking about polygyny. We were talking about some real stuff that you're not going to find out in social media world, just in general, unfortunately. But this is an ancient form of marriage that has many modern day benefits. But regardless of that, having a conversation, keeping these things in mind, puts you in the best path to do it in a healthy manner. So with that being said, I'm Coach Nazir. I help people get their shift together. So if you want the checklist, to download the actual worksheet and checklist, that the things that I went over in this video, make sure you go to outstandingpersonalrelationships.com/men. outstandingpersonalrelationships.com/men. That should be in the description below. Go ahead and download it. And if you made it this far in the video, I want you to put the words demonstrating your manhood below. Demonstrating your manhood below to let me know you saw the whole video, you vibing with it. And if you want some other videos that I only share with men, not on social media, make sure you go to outstandingpersonalrelationships.com/men and get the free video series that I set up for brothers. All right, with that being said, remember, wish changes nothing, but a decision changes everything. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.